Hi guys, welcome back to Daniel's project. It's 5:30 right now. The sun is going down slowly. The weather's nice, so I thought, why not filming this video outside? So in this video I want to present you, or I want to give you 5 tips for improving your movement practice, your physical training, whatever you want to call it. And I would say let's start with the first one, and that is keep a training journal. So keeping a training journal is pretty simple. Just grab yourself a notebook. Right now I forgot my notebook at home, I'm sorry for that. And write down for every session the date when you're doing the session and the type of session you're doing. For example, an acrobatics session, a movement session, like a general movement session, a hand balancing session, a strength session, bent arm or straight arm strength, lower body strength session, whatsoever. There are a lot of different types of sessions, so please write down this one. And then you want to keep track of everything that you're doing within the session. So warm up, mobility work, main work, back off work, accessory work, prehab work, cool down, everything. And you also want to include the amount of rest you're taking, so in between sets, and the amount of reps or hold times or volume you're doing within your session. And then what I also like to do is keeping a small subjective note. Sometimes I'm just writing down nice or great job or good job, Daniel, or I'm having or including small subjective reflections, for example, an aha moment. So if you're in a handstand and you finally figured out how to move your pelvis from an anterior pelvic tilt to a posterior pelvic tilt, you can write this down. So when the next session is coming up, you can go back in the notebook and then you can read your subjective small reflections and you're like, the last time I understood this. So hopefully I can apply or include this aha moment right now within my practice. Tip number 2 is about shifting your perspective on what is a good training session and what is a bad training session. Those two guys, Emmett and Michael from the Handstand Factory podcast, I think they've mentioned in one of their podcasts that 6 out of 10 or 5 out of 10, I'm not quite sure, 5 out of 10 hand balancing sessions are okay-ish, 2 are bad, 1 is really bad, 1 is really good, and 1 is okay or good. And I think we can all relate to this. I don't want you guys to think about good and bad training session based on the outcome. For example, you were able to do 2 more reps in pull-ups and 1 more rep in push-ups, so that's a good training session. And when you are stagnating or even decreasing, that's a bad training session. What I want to say is that we don't want to focus on good and bad training sessions. We want to focus on my attitude and my mindset towards a training session in general. So set yourself the goal or the perspective of my training session is good when I went into the training with a clear and focused mind and I showed up and I did everything I could at that time. And if it's less than before, that's fine because I'm fatigued or sore or something else. And if it's more, that's also good. But the training session was good based on if I showed up to the training session and if I did everything that I could. I think this shift of perspective is super valuable and amazing, because since then my training sessions were mostly good, like 9 out of 10, and that's amazing, just for your internal motivation and keeping momentum. The third tip is from my friend Will Brown. He has created a wonderful video on this topic. It's called The Thing is Bigger Than the Thing, and you can find it in the video description. And basically we want to see goals as an orientation or a direction within our practice and not as a fixed entity, something that we are becoming obsessed with, because this can leave us empty in the long run. I think we all achieved a big or an amazing goal of ourselves in our past. For example, finishing your studies or finally getting a 30-second handstand or a one-arm handstand or a one-arm chin-up. And when we achieved this goal, it left us somehow a bit empty. And yeah, it's like, okay, now what's up now? What should I do right now? So I think the message is pretty clear. Focus on the process and not on the goal itself. Just enjoy everything in between, all the stuff you will learn about yourself and about the practice. To achieve the goal takes as long as it takes, so there's no magic trick or something else. And at least for me, the more relaxed I became in my past, the more I enjoyed the whole movement practice or the training, and the faster I achieved my goals. So I think that's wonderful. So the fourth tip is about find something that gives you joy in the long run or also in the short run. So create a little bit of self-awareness and don't be so influenced by stuff you see on Instagram, for example, like all the other people are doing parkour or stuff from the parkour practice right now, or they're doing handstands or dance, because this will leave you empty in the long run, I promise. So it's better to create a practice of 60 to 80% of things that give yourself or give you some enjoyment and that you really like to do. And I think the rest of it can be filled up with things to fix your weak links and some things you really suck at and you really hate to do, but they hold a lot of value and growth and progress in the long run. So that's also good. But in my opinion, we are here on this earth to live a good and meaningful and wonderful life. And we're not here to do just the stuff that we suck at and we're bad at and we don't enjoy, because this will leave us empty. And I think a practice should give us some enjoyment, and we should really honestly enjoy what we are doing and not hate it. So that's tip number 4. So tip number 5 is keep coming back to old things. For example, you practiced a lot of acrobatics in your past, and then you did something else for the last 2 years, and now you're coming back to the practice of acrobatics. So in the meantime, you learn so many other things that are not related to acrobatics, so from other disciplines or areas of movement, but these areas also have an influence on your acrobatics practice. And this is something that fascinates me about a movement practice or a general physical practice. And right now, by coming back or by giving yourself the opportunity to go back to the acrobatics practice, you give yourself the chance to experience those small influences on the acrobatics practice, and then you have there's a whole nother world that opens up to yourself, and this is truly amazing. There's a whole nother subjective layer to the whole thing, and I already made a small YouTube video a few weeks ago about this topic, so please check it out. It's somewhere up here. And yeah, these are my 5 tips for improving your movement or physical practice. If you enjoyed this video and you learned something new, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, share this one with others, and see you guys in the next one. Bye bye.